Let's stop the games. If you want this fight, let's have it in public. With those words, Hillary Clinton threw down the gauntlet Thursday, demanding that her Epstein testimony happen in full public view with cameras rolling. After months of resistance, the Clintons caved to contempt threats and agreed to testify. But now they're turning the tables by insisting on total transparency. The move creates a nightmare scenario for Trump. If Republicans force former presidents to testify about Epstein under oath, Democrats are promising Trump will be next. "We are absolutely going to have Donald Trump testify under oath," warned California Rep. Robert Garcia. This is the story of how the Clintons weaponized their own testimony, why Trump may regret pushing this precedent, and the explosive battle over who really wants transparency. After 6 months of resistance, Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed Tuesday to testify before the House Oversight Committee about Jeffrey Epstein. Chairman James Comer announced Hillary would testify February 26th, Bill on February 27th. Once it became clear that the House of Representatives would hold them in contempt, the Clintons completely caved and will appear for transcribed, filmed depositions this month, Comer said triumphantly. But within hours, the Clintons counterattacked. Hillary posted on X, "For 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know, under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalposts and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction." Then came the demand. "So let's stop the games. If you want this fight, at Rep. James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. We will be there." This wasn't surrender. It was a calculated tactical shift. The Clintons agreed to testify, but demanded it happen in full public view where millions of Americans could watch, not in a closed-door deposition Republicans could selectively leak. Clinton spokesman Nick Merrill drove the point home. At the 11th hour, James Comer asked for a camera. That's fine. He can have 1,000 cameras. The Clintons will do this publicly. Angel Urena, Bill Clinton's spokesman, added, "They told you under oath what they know, but you don't care. But the former president and former Secretary of State will be there. They look forward to setting a precedent that applies to everyone." That last phrase, "a precedent that applies to everyone," is the key. The Clintons are daring Republicans to establish that former presidents can be hauled before Congress under oath, because that precedent will come back to haunt Trump. How did we get here? On August 5, 2025, Chairman Comer issued subpoenas to Bill and Hillary Clinton demanding testimony about Epstein. The subpoenas had bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans on the Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee unanimously approved them. Bill Clinton was supposed to appear October 14, 2025. He declined, citing a funeral. The committee offered to reschedule if he'd propose alternative dates. He declined. They issued a follow-on subpoena for January 13, 2026. He failed to appear. On January 21, 2026, the Oversight Committee voted to recommend the House find both Clintons in contempt of Congress, a charge carrying substantial fines and potential incarceration if passed by the full House and prosecuted by DOJ. The vote wasn't partisan. Democrats joined Republicans in approving contempt proceedings. The message was clear: no one is above the law, not even former presidents. As the House prepared for a floor vote this week, the Clintons finally relented. Their attorneys emailed oversight staff Monday saying the pair would appear for depositions on mutually agreeable dates. Comer wasn't immediately dropping contempt charges. "We don't have anything in writing," he told reporters. "It depends on what they say." Only after finalizing the agreement, Hillary on February 26th, Bill on February 27th, did Comer confirm the contempt vote would be suspended. The Clintons resisted for 6 months. They only agreed when facing certain contempt of Congress charges with bipartisan support. That's not cooperation, that's capitulation under legal duress. Now comes the battle over format. The subpoenas called for depositions, closed-door questioning, transcribed and filmed, but not broadcast live. Comer insists that's standard procedure. The Clintons are not going to be treated any differently than anyone else, Comer told reporters. If there's something meaningful that arises during the deposition, we'll try to do something about a public hearing afterward. He emphasized on Newsmax, the deposition will be made public. It's going to be audio, video, and the transcripts will be released. Depositions are always the preferred means of getting information from a witness. But the Clintons' attorney argued that video recording requirements were added at the 11th hour and that a public hearing will best suit our concerns about fairness. Their letter stated, "Though you have notably never asked the Clintons to appear in an open hearing, we now believe that will best suit our concerns about fairness. Their answers and your questions can be seen by all to be judged accordingly." An Oversight Committee spokeswoman fired back. The Clintons are going to Clinton and try to spin the facts since no one is buying their claims. The only ones moving the goalposts are, as usual, the Clintons and their attorneys. The Clintons were issued bipartisan subpoenas for depositions, not a hearing, the spokeswoman continued. Republicans and Democrats on the Oversight Committee voted to recommend the House hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress for defying duly issued subpoenas for 6 months. Here's the reality. Depositions allow more rigorous questioning without time limits imposed by public hearings. Lawyers can follow up extensively, but they also allow selective release of damaging portions while burying exculpatory context. Public hearings are theatrical but transparent. Everything happens in real time, with no selective editing. The Clintons understand this. They want Americans to watch Republicans question them live, betting that transparency works in their favor. So what will the Clintons actually testify about? Neither has been accused of wrongdoing related to Epstein. No survivor or associate has made public allegations against them. Both deny knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Bill Clinton acknowledges a relationship with Epstein, but says he cut ties before Epstein was charged in 2006. Flight logs show Clinton on Epstein's plane at least 26 times, far more than Trump's documented flights. Clinton has said he was unaware of Epstein's crimes and that their relationship involved legitimate business and philanthropy connections. Hillary Clinton's connection is even attenuated. Her involvement appears to be primarily that she was married to Bill Clinton. Her spokesman asked in December, "What the hell does Hillary Clinton have to do with this?" And he hasn't been able to come up with an answer. The Clintons argue they've already told investigators everything under oath during the 6-month negotiation period, but Republicans ignored it. If their testimony becomes public, Americans will hear them deny any knowledge of wrongdoing, explain their limited interactions with Epstein, and pivot to attacking the investigation as a partisan distraction from Trump's own Epstein connections. Here's where this becomes Trump's nightmare. By establishing the precedent that Congress can subpoena and compel testimony from former presidents under contempt threat, Republicans just created a weapon Democrats will use against Trump. California Rep. Robert Garcia was explicit. "We are absolutely going to have Donald Trump testify under oath when Democrats take back power." Rep. Jamie Raskin, former top Democrat on oversight who led impeachment efforts against Trump, told NBC News, "It's clear that past presidents are not off limits for subpoenas. Clinton is a past president who had rendered substantial good faith compliance. But if there is a former president who doesn't render substantial good faith compliance, they're going to be in trouble under this precedent. All bets are off." Translation: Republicans just established that former presidents must comply with congressional subpoenas or face contempt charges. When Democrats control the House again, Trump will be subpoenaed about Epstein and about January 6th, classified documents, financial dealings, and everything else. Trump appeared to grasp this problem. Asked about the Clintons' planned depositions, he told reporters in the Oval Office, "I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him." Then, in a remarkable about-face from his years of crooked Hillary attacks, Trump praised her. Her? Yeah, why not? She's a very capable woman, better in debating than some of the other people. She's a smart woman. Why the sudden compliments? Because Trump sees what's coming. Every question Republicans ask the Clintons can be asked of him. Every precedent they set will be used against him. The last time Democrats controlled the House, they issued a subpoena to Trump in 2022 demanding documents and testimony about January 6th. Trump refused. The House took no further action. But that was before Republicans established that contempt proceedings are appropriate for non-compliant former presidents. Democrats are now armed with a precedent Republicans themselves created. Why should Trump worry about Epstein testimony? Because his documented connections are extensive. Flight logs showed Trump on Epstein's plane at least 8 times between 1993 and 1996. Trump's contact information appeared in Epstein's address book. Photos show them socializing at Mar-a-Lago and other venues throughout the 1990s. One FBI interview describes a 14-year-old girl taken to Mar-a-Lago in 1994 who said Epstein introduced her to Trump. According to the document, Epstein elbowed Trump and said, "This is a good one, right?" Trump smiled and nodded. They both chuckled. In 2002, Trump told New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Trump's name appears over 1,000 times in the 3.5 million pages of Epstein files released by DOJ. Many references are in unverified tips from the public, but not all. Trump claims he had a falling out with Epstein and banned him from Mar-a-Lago, though timing and reasons are disputed. He denies any wrongdoing. But if Clinton can be compelled to testify under oath about his Epstein relationship, so can Trump. And Trump has a long history of perjury concerns. Remember his 2023 deposition in the E. Jean Carroll case, where the jury found he lied repeatedly. The irony is thick. Republicans investigating Epstein connections want closed-door depositions, while the Clintons demand public hearings. Who really wants transparency? Comer argues depositions are standard procedure and more rigorous for gathering facts. Public hearings become political theater with time limits and grandstanding. But the Clintons argue, if this is really about accountability and transparency, let America watch. Don't hide behind closed doors and selective leaks. Hillary's challenge, "You love to talk about transparency, there's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on," puts Republicans in a bind. If they refuse, they look like they're afraid of what public testimony would reveal. If they agree, they lose control of the narrative. The depositions will be videotaped and transcribed, with eventual public release. But eventual means Republicans control timing and can release damaging excerpts strategically while burying exculpatory portions. Live public hearings eliminate that advantage.